In this episode, we're going to talk about 3 intimacy killers destroying your marriage and how to eliminate them tonight. Are you tired of your marriage not growing? You're not alone. Welcome to Why Your Marriage Isn't Growing, a podcast helping couples reignite their relationship, break free from the trap of just getting along, and rediscover the joy and passion they once had. Welcome to another episode. Hello, my name is Greg.
And my name is Carolyn.
In this episode, you'll discover 3 hidden intimacy killers that will surprise you in everything that you're doing, silently eroding your physical connections. And my wife is going to share with you 3 powerful benefits that we're sharing with you about intimacy and how it's killing and destroying your marriage.
One is the surprising everyday habits that are silently eroding your physical connection. A 10-minute evening ritual that rebuilds intimacy even after years of disconnection. And how to break through the invisible barriers keeping you feeling like roommate.
And the stakes and the opportunities are so very high here. That's the reason why we created this podcast, so we could share with you why many Christian couples are living in intimacy deserts without understanding why. What if the path back to deep connection is more accessible than you've been led to believe? Wouldn't that be a beautiful thing?
Beautiful thing. So let me talk about point 1. The surprising everyday habits that are silently eroding your physical connection. 3 common intimacy killers that destroy connection: chronic distraction, unresolved conflicts that create emotional barriers, and unhealthy comparison to realistic standards.
And it was so important that in the book of Song of Solomon, he celebrates physical intimacy as God's gift to married couples. When we understand the subtle barriers that interfere with this gift, we are intentionally removing them.
So you want to conduct an intimacy barrier audit. Track screen time in the bedroom for 1 week. Devices create both physical and psychological barriers.
What does that look like when you create both physical and psychological barriers when we're talking about, because I'm kind of confused on that when we're talking about track the screen time in the bedrooms. The stuff that I tip that you shouldn't be on that phone sometimes?
Yeah.
Is that what it's talking about?
Or how
Or
about
when I'm on the phone
the TV?
or on the TV.
Right.
So we got to make sure that we don't spend too much time disconnecting from the spouse by connecting with the devices.
That is correct.
Okay, so now I understand that.
Identify unresolved conflicts that remain off limits for discussion.
I really like that.
Recognize comparison triggers, media, other couples, past relationships that create unrealistic expectations. Discuss findings with your spouse with an emphasis on understanding, not blaming.
I really like that part where you're talking about past relationships that create unrealistic expectations. Because a lot of times people have some truly unrealistic expectations. I think that stems from the fact that they're not having effective communication with one another, not going over what do you like, what you don't like.
Right.
What does this look like to you? Instead of being stuck in looking at the phone. That phone is a good thing and a bad thing all at the same time.
Yeah,
or spending too much time watching television.
So you want to talk about point number 2?
Yes. A 10-minute evening ritual that rebuilds intimacy even after years of disconnecting. Now that's important. The connection ladder is a progressive approach to rebuilding physical intimacy through intentional, non-sexual touch, emotional vulnerability, and spiritual connection. Break that down for me, because I'm trying to visualize in my head. When I say see, I don't really see it. I'm trying to see that, have a picture for me.
Can I make it simple for you?
Yeah, make that simple for me.
What did you think intimacy was when we first got married?
Okay, that's a picture. I thought it was a
Is that a picture?
Yeah, that's a picture.
Yeah.
I thought it was just having sex.
Okay, but
I thought the more intimate I was with you, the better it was going to be. Not understanding that intimacy didn't have anything to do with a sexual encounter.
That's right.
So it was a fault on my part as well as it was yours, because you should have brought that to my attention.
At that point in time in the beginning, would you have let me?
Maybe not, but we don't know that, but we've been learning these things. And that's why we created this podcast, so we can share these things so people hopefully and prayerfully won't make the same mistake that we made along the way, assuming something, because assumption is not good when you don't get the full picture.
That's right. So let's talk about what 1 Corinthians chapter 7, verse 3 through 5. It speaks of the importance of physical intimacy in marriage. The approach honors the biblical principle, which, while acknowledging that deep connection requires intention and progression.
So explain that to the audience, intention and progression.
In other words, you have to go in with the intent of having an intimate relationship. It could be the holding of the hands, the touching, the rubbing.
I know I'm understanding you correctly. So back to the part where we're in the bedroom and we're disconnecting from the television, we're disconnecting from those devices. So you're saying that a real, true, intimate environment would be you and I sitting in the bedroom or laying in the bed, just having a conversation,
Snuggling.
cuddling each other, and just talking.
Just talk.
That's deep and profound
Okay.
and very enlightening, to say the least.
Okay, so do you want to talk about the 10-minute connection ladder evening ritual?
I truly do, because we've always talked about this before in previous podcasts, where you have to take time out and have these structured formats in place. This is something real simple. Implement the 10-minute connection ladder evening ritual. Basically 1 to 3 minutes, sharing the highest and lowest points of your day while holding hands. And we just talked about that on the definition of intimacy, because you can have some good quality time with your spouse without having sex. Spend 4 to 6 minutes, give each other a 3-minute shoulder massage while sharing one thing you appreciate about each other. I would have to skip that on Carolyn.
No.
Well, Carolyn you don't like massages. Now, me, on the other hand, I love the massages.
Okay.
I love the chiropractor. I would have to find something else to stand in the place of that. Spend 7 to 9 minutes, hold each other in a full embrace while taking 5 deep breaths together. That's something we might need to do.
It's all right with me.
I think that sounds like a good one. And then here's the part I like. Pray together while asking God to bless your marriage and deepen your connection. And that's what I do. I say, God, can you give me something new and different to talk to Carolyn about to enlighten our marriage? Let's just not make it where we get into this routine going through the motion. I think that's what kills a marriage, and that's why a lot of marriages aren't growing, is because they get into a routine and they don't create any spice in their life. That's why we continue to have date night.
You want to look at the fact that a lot of married couples do not pray together.
Well, that is true. As we're going through this conversation here, point number 3 says how to break through the invisible barrier keeping you feeling like roommates. And you don't want to feel like a roommate. You're just going along to get along.
Roommate can come or go.
Oh, my God. So share with the audience what that looks like.
So specific approaches to address the 3 most common intimacy barriers: mismatched desire, lack of emotional safety, and competing priority.
I like that. If you just practice this right here, right along with the intimacy piece of just having some conversation, everything will be good. And here it is, because we stay in the Bible. In Genesis chapter 2, verse 24 through 25, it describes a marriage relationship of being naked and unashamed, not just physically, but emotionally and spiritually. Addressing these barriers restores God's intentions for marriage. See, that's the reason why we created this, because we want to let you understand that marriage is a good thing. It's actually a great thing. It is what God set up and intended.
Mismatched desire. Schedule a desire conversation using the prompt, I feel most desire when, and listening without judgment.
That's powerful. Now, for emotional safety, create a safety covenant together that outlines how you'll respond when vulnerability is offered. That's something you have to think through. You can't just come out there and do that. You got to really think this thing through. I like the stuff that we're coming up, because it's allowing us and the audience to be thought-provoking when they're going. Don't just go through this thing, called marriage like it's a job or a chore. Treat it like it's fun. Like when we do this podcast, we're having fun. We want to have fun. It just don't make sense if you're not having fun in life.
So, for competing priorities, you want to conduct a time audit to identify activities that can be reduced to create more space for connection.
So that right there sounds like a very good deal. Set up a specific follow-up date to evaluate progress and adjust your approach. So basically, don't just go through the motions. Say on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, we're going to do this. Then say the following Tuesday, so what? We're going to go through it. We're going to sit down and assess what that looks like. And we can just take daily assessments and then come at the end of the week or next week and say, okay, what did that look like? How did you feel about that? Should we do something a little differently?
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. So what's your final message for them on this thing called intimacy?
Intimacy isn't just a physical act.
Amen.
It's the deep knowing and being known that God designed for marriage. The path back to connection isn't found in grand gestures, but in small, consistent choices.
Really?
These communicate that matter to you
I like that.
in the midst of your busy life. As you eliminate these intimacy killers, you create space for God to restore what's been lost and create something even more beautiful than before.
Basically, in a nutshell, you matter. It's not all about me. It's about us.
Each of us has to feel the other one matters as much.
It definitely does. I agree with you 100%. So let me recap. We have given you a lot of things to chew on as you're listening to us on this podcast. And we definitely understand that everything is not going to happen overnight, that it's a process. So we identified 3 common intimacy killers destroying Christian marriages.
Okay, and we learned a 10-minute evening ritual to rebuild connection step by step.
Amen. We discovered specific strategies to address mismatched desires, emotional safety issues, and most importantly, competing priorities.
And small, consistent actions matter more than occasional grand gestures.
That's a mouthful right there, because God designed intimacy as a gift to be nurtured, not an automatic outcome of marriage. You didn't get nothing. Get that right there. So again, we want to thank you for joining us today, because you could have been anywhere. We put out these new episodes every Monday and Thursday. So be sure to follow us wherever you're listening to podcasts. If this message sparked hope for your intimate connection, please share it with another couple who might need this encouragement. And as I always say, to God be the glory.